Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. Other experts are saying that the country of South Africa cannot be the lapdog of the United States of America, despite the current trade and tariffs that the US is spilling all over the place. It is important to know that South Africa, to an extent, has reminded the United States in several areas, looking at US hegemonic approach. And currently, the United States of America's president is putting a number of countries on notice with regards to trade. It recently warned other countries around the globe, especially in the global south, and looking at BRICS countries, China, Russia, Brazil, including South Africa, Ethiopia, and Algeria and Egypt, all of these countries that are very important in regards to the strategic growth of this particular bloc. Donald Trump is reminding them to an extent that it will not be business as usual. But the big question here is, according to Mr. Trump, that he is going to pull the plug if any of these countries make any particular move regards to the dollar. However, these threats are not going anywhere soon. Let's listen to what Donald Trump himself said. This particular threat is coming from the White House, and it's a wake-up call for the countries across the continent of Africa and global South nations that are from the continent of Africa, that it's about time to take another look at the United States of America's relationship with the continent of Africa. Let's play the video.
Further afield, President Donald Trump has reiterated his warning that BRICS nations could face tariffs from the United States if they set up their own currency. Trump told reporters in the Oval Office yesterday that the idea of undermining the dollar is dead now. The BRICS nations, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, as well as South Africa and others, have had discussions about setting up their own currency.
BRICS, the BRICS nations, I think that's breaking up very rapidly. We said that if they're going to go and do anything to undermine the dollar, that includes China. I don't even know that they're a member of BRICS, but they had a few nations get together to try and play cute. And I said, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every one of those nations. And at the mere thought of saying that, I think that's all broken up. That idea has no longer sailed. Now, that would be a terrible thing for our country. It would be bad for the world. They wanted to undermine the dollar. 6 nations got together. They wanted to undermine the dollar. That didn't work out too well. Not going to happen.
Why is this important at this particular time? It is vital that I think the United States consider BRICS to be a big threat in terms of trade and collaboration. And more importantly, as South Africa has come under enormous pressure looking at Israel, looking at its particular relationship with China and Russia. The trade agreement is an area where the Trump administration is looking to pull the string, like I've pointed out in a couple of communication. However, it is vital for the country of South Africa to also come out and stick itself clear. Experts in South Africa argue that if the country of South Africa capitulates to the United States of America's demands, it will be catastrophic in the country of South Africa's engagement and its economic position. There is a very important relationship out there. South Africa's relationship with Iran, with China, with Russia, and some fringe powers across the European Union, and those other countries that, according to the United States, it considers them as geopolitical foes. However, South Africa, a major power in the continent of Africa, is facing one of those particular moments where it will be reminded in history is that at this time, South Africa collapsed as a result of pressure from the United States. South African officials and analysts are warning that this government of South Africa and the South African people should, to an extent, refocus and re-strategize their move, and considering the United States are not as a very influential partner, despite the huge particular trade agreements that are currently going on.
Let's get reaction now for more on Donald Trump's U.S. foreign policy and the U.S.-South Africa relationship. I'm joined now by international relations expert, Professor Oscar van Heerden. Prof, good to have you on the program this evening. South Africa is considering a bilateral trade agreement as an alternative to AGOA. Let's speak about this. What are the potential advantages and challenges of this approach?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that the South African government is obviously trying to come with creative ideas to try and salvage this preferential trade agreement, AGOA, which really speaks to a much larger trade agreement between the two countries, and in that way try and find each other. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Obviously, any country, including South Africa, want to have good relations with the largest economy in the world. And I think that the Ramaphosa administration is trying to find creative and interesting ways to try and circumvent this current diplomatic spat.
But in your view, how realistic is it for South Africa to negotiate, call it favorable terms with the US, especially given this current geopolitical climate?
Look, we've got a history of being able to negotiate very well. If you look at the TDCA agreement that we have with the European Union, a very small economy like South Africa was able to successfully negotiate good terms with the European Union. We've done the same with other trade agreements. So we certainly have the skill set. We have the resources and human capacity to try and negotiate a good deal with the United States. But the big question is, will the United States be receptive to actually having such a trade agreement, given the tensions that exist now?
If you look at AGOA is a very important trade agreement that is between the United States of America and a number of sub-Saharan African countries. The government of the United States of America and senators, congressmen have called during the Joe Biden administration to get South Africa out of AGOA. Experts say it will be catastrophic. It's going to affect that particular economy in several areas and businesses, as we see Donald Trump continue to eat into the South Africa's internal issue. However, this does not only go with regards to South Africa. It goes a long way across other countries in the continent of Africa. Those nations that are members of BRICS, like Ethiopia and Egypt, including Algeria, these countries that are vying for membership, and Nigeria at the moment. South Africa is leading the torch with regards to this. So if South Africa can come under enormous pressure as a result of its collaboration with the other BRICS nations, it is a reminding call that nobody have to let you guys know that the United States is open for a trade war with the continent of Africa.
But our President Cyril Ramaphosa is known as a great negotiator, while Donald Trump is known as a deal maker here. Let's speak about this. How might changes to trade agreements with the US especially impact, especially key sectors in South Africa, such as agriculture and the automotive industry?
Look, it will be disastrous if AGOA gets cancelled. It's not renewed. I think it's a foregone conclusion, by the way. It's going to happen. And so those sectors need to prepare themselves for the shock. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the kinds of demands that the Trump administration has placed on South Africa is simply not in a position to meet those demands. I hear the business sector encouraging the South African government to have good relations with the US, but the truth of the matter is that if the Ramaphosa administration capitulate under these terms, for example, having to drop the case against Israel at the ICJ, having to not have good relations with Iran, Russia, and China, etc. These are all principled issues that if we do so, if we do capitulate, it means that we will forever be the lapdog of the United States, not only apparently on the foreign policy front, because as you know, Trump is also taking issue with some of our domestic policies, such as the expropriation without compensation law. It simply means that we will forever have to make a phone call to Washington, D.C. to check whether we can or cannot do certain things, both domestically and internationally. And there's no country that will agree to such terms.
And why is this important? It is important because, again, Marco Rubio, the current United States of America Secretary of State, has said, if you do not toe the line, I'm saying that if the United States of America's view and engagement in the global community is not from the US own perspective, no matter what any other partner is considering, it's not going to work. We saw what happened, how the United States of America's vice president came to Germany and lambasted Germany and the European Union in general and European countries and giving them a wake-up call. This is what African nations have been talking about over the years. That's why Niger kicked out the United States of America from its territory based on this condescending approach. And that's why we see this is not going to go anywhere soon. So the trade wars that we are talking about here, that analysts are discussing, it's a vital time for the continent of Africa to re-strategize itself and seek other alternatives at this moment before things run out. Make no mistake, the next 4 years is going to be brutal with regards to global engagement and strategic partnership. We see partners hating partners, partners slashing partners, partners ignore geopolitical, very important strategic partner. What do you think if the United States of America can alienate a long-time ally, Germany, Egypt, South Africa? What about the small fringe power in the continent of Africa like Malawi and the rest that heavily rely on the United States in several areas? It is a wake-up call that you guys have to go back to your drawing board and look what works and what doesn't work. You have to make unpopular choices and make decisions that does not sit well with your geopolitical partner. You have to work within your own particular continent in a number of areas and revitalize the African free trade arrangement. Start trading, because as we all see that protectionism and condescending approach in terms of using trade tools to pull strings from behind and influence policy globally, that's how the game is going to be. There's just no two way to talk about it. I cannot sugarcoat it yet at this moment. South Africa is facing a very important threat that if it does not deal with it carefully, it will slap its economy, it will affect employment, jobs, and a number of areas. I want to thank you for watching. Let me know in the comment section if you think the US president's threat regards to the dollar and countries of the global south looking at BRICS, if that is the way to go. The next 4 years will be a tough period. And like I said, election have consequences. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.